we not just talk about empowerment? How do we build empowerment from within? Because empowerment's such a huge topic. But I feel like women don't know how to be empowered, and girls are still learning. So that's what we want to do. And it's more than just sharing a story. It's about providing the strategies and the tools for life so that you can fall back on those and you're not looking for them externally.
Yeah. And that was one of my biggest questions, is really helping people understand why it's such a crucial place to be involved. And as an educator yourself, to focus on ensuring, and I love the title, No Girl Gets Left Behind, in really empowering this movement. But what can you share with us? And this is the part that I want people to understand who are listening and watching. When we create these events that have empowerment and promotion of being strong and confident, what is the broader society benefits? What are we going to see from events like this? How does it transform into the future as they grow, and how is it going to impact our society?
So that's a phenomenal question. And I think what's going to happen here is we're going to start seeing girls who don't compete and compare. And it's in adults as well, and particularly with women who own their own businesses. When you have speakers and you have leaders, business coaches, all those kinds of things, anything where you see women in the same field, you'll find that there's so much competition and rivalry. And it's something that has been instilled in us for generations. And so we need to stop that,
Yeah.
because being empowered allows us to stay in our own lane, so to speak. But it also gives you that sense of peace from within, so that you have the encouragement to cheer somebody else on, whether they're in the same business that you are or not, because you can recognize that there's room for all of us to succeed, and you're just part of that.
I love that you say that, because when I think about my own personal journey, I think about, there were times that there is that competitiveness, and, people take actions that are related to that fear. It's a fear-based action on what they do in that competition, versus just knowing that there's enough for everyone. And if we had that, like you said, that peace within, how revealing is that, to be confident in yourself, that knowing that whatever resonates with someone, they're going to be the ones who hire you. They're the ones who are going to be promoting you, because you're able to stand in your own conviction and your own confidence of who you are.
1,000%, Deborah, because I also own a clothing company, and I was at a women's show a few years back, and there was a woman across the hall from me, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so worried because I'm a lasher and somebody else is a lasher, 3 or 4 booths down, and I'm not going to get any sales." And I said, "Well, first of all, your attitude is what's it's going to, keep you
Mm-hmm.
from making any sales. What you need to do is understand that people are going to come to your booth because of who you are and the service that you provide. And if they resonate with that and they like you as a person, they're going to go to you." It didn't matter to me that a couple of booths down, there was another athleisure company that was there. And I thought, well, this is fabulous, because, they'll go by there, they'll come here. And we did an unbelievable amount of sales that weekend. And I told her, if you change your perspective on how you're feeling about this, you're going to start selling. And she
Yeah.
had sold 2 sets of lashes an hour in, and by noon she had sold out and she had to close her booth.
How amazing is that? One of the things
Yeah.
I find incredible about that, it'd be interesting to just shift it even further, saying, if everybody came to you right now, would you be able to serve all?
Yeah,
And
right.
yeah.
It's sort of, you do the best you can with what you have. And if you know who you are from a foundational perspective,
Mm-hmm.
which is that building the relationship from within, and that's what empowerment is understanding that,
Yeah.
then you do what you can, and being the person you are will attract the right people.
Yeah. And one of the things that you talk about here is really, really important. It's about establishing and building those relationships. And I think that is so foundational. And as women, we are quite natural about forming those relationships, forming them. But sometimes I think we have to do a lot more work in really nurturing them and helping that they flourish, and knowing when to connect back and check in, and those kind of things. Because I know, just growing in within an organization, it is those people who continually nurture those relationships where opportunities seem to come up.
Right. So, in one of your previous podcasts, you talked about leadership and boundaries. So you've got to understand yourself really well. And with the No Girl Left Behind event, we focus on relationships. The most important relationship that exists is the one with self. And the most complicated relationship and the most influential is the one between mother and daughter. And whether you have a daughter, you had or have a mother, and women tend to carry the relationship and those feelings and the ideologies and the experiences with them. And we need to introduce a new perspective in terms of you're not defined by those experiences. You're defined by your response to those, and you get to choose that, which is very empowering. Understanding that we get to choose who we are, where we're going, and all those things. That choice is what empowers us, because you can change who you are at any given time. If you decide today, I am no longer going to feel this way about my body, and I'm going to accept who I am as a human
Mhm.
being and as a woman, that gives you the empowerment to sit in the power seat of your own car, you know?
Yeah. And I think this is really important for people to understand, because you can change your identity at any given time by the power of saying, I choose. I choose differently today.
Yes, yes. And to be open to learning a new perspective, right? We are where we are based on our experiences, but who we are is defined on those choices. So, what we're doing in the event is we're honing in on the relationship with self, because I believe the three most important things in any relationship is number one, communication, number two, respect, and number three, trust. And if one of those things is fractured,
Mhm.
then you have something missing from that relationship. And it doesn't matter whether it's yourself, your spouse, a friend, your business partner. Any relationship requires communication as the number one thing. It's not money that causes divorce, it's the lack of communication.
Yeah. And that's absolutely true, in the fact that, when I just think about one part of communication, right? It's listening. How often are we actually dismissing each other because we're thinking about something we're doing? Someone says something to us, but we're so focused on what we need that we can't hear the other person and be able to acknowledge them and say, I just have to finish this thought and I'll get back to you. And that's how simple it could be. Because when someone's trying to share something, and they're sharing something with you, it's important to them. So how do we pause and actually say, I hear you, let me just finish my thought and come back to that, because I really want to give you my attention.
Yeah. Yeah, like when I first met my husband, when I felt that there was a conflict, I would sort of hang back and be quiet. And he's the type of person that wants to fix it. He wants to deal with it. So it's like, if I am feeling heated about something, I'll be like, you know what? You just need to give me 15 minutes here. I just need to decompress, and then I will come back to this, because he
Yeah.
needs something from me and I need something from him, and you have to meet in the middle about it. And we
Mhm.
don't hold on to thoughts or fears or anger, because it just doesn't serve anybody, right? So you've got to be able to communicate. Well, how are you feeling about that? Well, okay, I need to hear you better. And it's sometimes it's not even what you say, but it's how you say it. So you have to
Mhm.
understand where someone else is coming from. And I'm finding that the younger generation, okay, I'm 54, but I'm finding that 30-year-olds will they don't want to talk to you over the phone, and they don't want to talk to you face to face. They just want to send off an email or a
Mhm.
message, and then that's it. And then they feel like they've said their whatever they need to say, and then you're not really offered or afforded the opportunity to respond.
Mhm.
And that's something I think needs to be addressed as well at our event. Is just, you have to understand that what you're saying or putting out there, you need to allow that person to respond in a way that they feel comfortable responding. So, and it's not about confrontation. I think a lot of people lately in the last few years, it's this, I'm so scared, I don't like confrontation, I don't like confrontation. I don't think people thrive on confrontation. I think
Yeah.
that it's a matter, for me personally, I just want to be able to communicate something,
Yeah.
and it's not about, but it is about respect too. I mean, when
Mhm.
I'm substitute teaching, I don't allow a child to speak to me with disrespect, because I don't treat someone else that way. And it's accountability, and it is respectability, and all those kinds of things. And the event is going to be something where we actually teach those skills, as far as how do you build the
Mhm.
relationship with self. What are some activities, what are some things that you can do that you can always look back on? Because
Mhm.
women especially, if you look at uh you say you've had a disagreement with your girlfriend, and what women tend to do is they'll pick up the phone or they'll message their friend and say, oh my gosh, this is what happened with so and so. And then they'll have to reach out to two or three or four or five people, and all of a sudden you've got this posse of people involved in a situation that is just doesn't need to be, they don't need to be involved in it. And all it would require is for them and the other person to have had that conversation and let it go.
Yeah.
But women want to hold on to those things. And it's like, you know what? You really don't need to let it go. And you don't need to feel validated by five other different people. If you felt that you had that peace within, and you understood your own relationship with yourself, you
Mhm.
would A, understand how you operate, B, understand what you needed, C, you would be able to fulfill those needs without looking for, like I said before, that external validation. Am I pretty enough? Am I worthy enough? Does my body measure up? And it's just all those things. You don't have to look for that, because from a foundational point, I'm enough, and I'm a good person, and I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm not
Mhm.
going to beat myself up about it. And if somebody else is not okay with that, it really isn't my problem. I've done the best that I can. And that is what we're talking about.